exemption for the state universities on CCNA. I know John met with Ray Rodriguez, the chancellor of the state university system. He requested some information from us, so we basically sent him the most recent study from ACEC National, which was done by University of Colorado and Georgia Tech University. So that's ongoing. We talked with Ray when he was in the Senate, or in the House actually, and he was trying to do this. I don't know, if he's really serious about working on this, or what's going to happen. So, but it's a positive development. He didn't blow John out the door. It didn't sound like. And I know AIA, Scott, you just mentioned them. I know they've met with him as well. And we're just trying to show them that this isn't. Nobody can produce a study of any kind saying that not using CCNA saves money. They will say it, but they've got nothing to prove it. Where we've got a lot of information that is consistent, and that it might be a little more expensive on the, let's say, the design side, but not much. And it's such a it's a small percentage of the total project cost anyway. But there is data there that shows that it saves money in the construction costs. Projects get done more often on time, fewer change orders. Maintenance moving forward after the project is complete tends to be cheaper. So a lot of things I think they should be looking at, but the way they're doing it, have a lot of time to debate that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's an ongoing one. As you can see, kind of where they stand on the budget right now, because the second bill deals with the budget as well. What they did is the Senate passed out their bill, sent it over to the House, and the House basically, did what they do. They passed a version of the bill and sent it back to the, or actually went the other way, House back to the Senate. But anyway, it's been sent back. This just lines them up to go to conference committee. If we look at the next bill, which is the appropriations bill, Senate Bill 2500, that is now the bill. The House bill's been laid on the table, and that was 5001. So 2500 is the appropriations bill. So as these move forward, they'll go into the conference committees, which should happen. Typically they're finalizing the budget the last few days of session. Those conference committees, maybe 2-3 weeks. So we're probably a week or two away from those conference committees actually happening. So unless Derek or John's on the phone has other information. But
Alan, I'm on the phone, but I don't have anything in addition to what you're sharing.
Okay. So not only the CCNA issue, but then in the appropriations bill, we are looking at watching what's going on with DOT, in particular, the Moving Florida Forward program. If you're so inclined, you can click on that blue Senate Bill 2500. And if you will go to page 457, section 189, you will see one little paragraph that says that there will be $2 billion taken from the General Revenue Fund, put in the Transportation Trust Fund, with a matching $2 billion to come at some point in the future, but they don't say when. They don't say, is it going to be in this budget year? Is it going to be in the next one or the one after that? And FDOT needs to know that. So they need full $4 billion and to be able to leverage that to get the full $7 billion to be able to do the projects in the plan that they have now. If they don't get that and they only get the $2 billion, most, if not all of that money is just going to go to I-4. So we're watching this and keeping an eye on it and trying to, I hear from some people that it's okay, that in the end they've got this worked out. So there could be any number of things at work. The legislature, this game goes on all the time. The legislature knows the governor really wants something, so they're kind of holding out and not really doing it, until the very end, until they get the things they want. That could be going on. There could be any number of things going on here, but I'm told from several different sources that it's all okay and it will work out in the end. which I don't personally put a lot of stock in that kind of stuff. But it's better than, I'd rather be ahead 7 points with going into the fourth quarter than being behind by 7 points. So we'll see how that goes. And again, feel free. I'm on my phone, so somebody could watch out for hand. Feel free to ask questions anytime. This one, I couldn't remember last week if I had reported the final stuff on this one. This is that statute of repose bill. It's completely passed. The only thing left is for the governor to sign it. They haven't sent it to the governor yet. So once they do, he'll have 15 days. I would assume that this is going to go over as part of a whole package of bills when they get to that. And the one that is the bill we're talking about, Senate Bill 360. The House bill again has been laid on the table as they did their final votes on it. It's completely done. It's passed the House and Senate, and we're waiting on it to go to the governor. And that leads me to Senate Bill 154. This has taken up an enormous amount of my time the last week or two, and I think we're finally there. And for us, there were a lot of problems going on with how the condos are going to pay for this and their reserve studies and this and that. And legislators were getting the reserve studies, mixed up with the milestone inspections. And so it's been a process of trying to untangle some things, get them to understand how this is supposed to work. And then, so I think we're finally there. I do know that Travis Blanton, Derek's partner, spoke with the House Speaker the other day. He's the one that's pushing hard that general contractors and building, local building inspectors can do the phase one part of the inspection, which we didn't want. And I think where we've landed is, as of yesterday, that the general contractors and building whoever's quote qualified to do it, can do these inspections as long as they're working under the supervision of a licensed architect or engineer. So the engineers will be there and will be responsible. I told them I don't really see many engineers actually doing that. I could be wrong, but maybe if you've got somebody you really trust, because you're putting your license on the line when you sign off on that stuff. So I don't think it really, in the whole scheme of things, really changes things too much. But that's kind of where we were landing on this, and all that comes from the GCs weren't asking for this. I don't know about the building officials, but if it was individual building officials. It wasn't as a group. So they haven't really been pushing it. It all comes from the fear that there's not enough engineers and architects to do this work. And I have no way to convince them one way or the other, because again, I've said this 1,000 times, we just don't know. They're not licensed that way in the state. There's no certifications, registrations, or anything like that we can point to. So we just don't know. So I think that's probably a decent place. Let me know if I'm wrong. I know I've talked to a few of you along the way here this week about this. And now we're starting to see movement. This, one of the things was a couple of weeks ago, we saw this bill moving pretty quickly in the Senate, and all of a sudden it came to a halt when it got to the floor. They have put it on the special order calendar for the 11th, so that will be Tuesday. So hopefully and I understand there's a lot of amendments coming on that bill, but almost all of them are related to the reserve study issue and to some other things, because they were also saying that engineers and architects and then now general contractors and building officials had to do these building the portion of the reserve study where they inspect the building just to see if they see anything going on with the building they would need to set reserves aside for. Where they've landed on that is an engine. The reports must be signed off on by an architect or an engineer or a reserve specialist, which those are the people that do the study. So it basically leaves it with them, which is where we want it. We don't need to be doing, we don't need these inspections every 5 years, or I think the law right now requires the reserve studies every 10 years. But I've learned a lot more about reserve studies than I needed to know, but they've been a good group to work with. I've enjoyed working with them, and hopefully we're getting ready to bring this thing in for a landing. And then one we might get dinged on here, and this is the fire issue. We've been told all along they weren't going to do, they were in the Senate, that they wouldn't do the part that would allow the contractor to design additions to a fire sprinkler system. They would allow them to simply move heads, and that was already in the law. And but if there's an expansion of a system and it's 49 heads or less, it would allow the general contractors to do that. Or the contractor. We were told that they weren't going to do that in the Senate. They haven't done it yet, but I understood from John that the senator might be waffling on that one a little bit. And they've got it on the special order calendar on the Senate floor on that Wednesday next week. And I don't know which way he's going to go. They had an amendment last week that they withdrew that had that in there. So I've contacted the folks that I talked to that deal in that area, members of ours, and let them know, they need to be contacting Senator Perry. The fire marshals are against this. There's two fire sprinkler associations. One of them is for it. One of them is against it. And there's a long-standing agreement that, they wouldn't go back to this idea again, and yet they are. So, I'm trying to use all that to our advantage, but I don't know, and that's all I know. I mean, that's all John told me. I have not spoken to Senator Perry. I don't know how hard and fast he's setting his position here, but we'll find out next week. Hopefully we've got enough there. So some of the monitoring bills, does anybody have any questions about that? That's the stuff that's really moving fast. And, stuff that I think, we can look for in one way or another. It's at least going to make it to the floor. Whether it makes it from there, I don't know. But so feel free to jump in. Some things that we're monitoring. I put this one up for those that were on the call last week. Peter Moore had asked that I include this one. The biggest thing about this, the public construction bills is what I'm talking about. The biggest thing about this is that in a earlier version of the bill, it would have said that, even if a project was being funded solely by, local government money, either municipality or county, they wouldn't be able to use local preferences. And now some people in our industry are fine with that. They'd rather it be like that. Some are not. So it was just something we were going to watch and be able to report on. But that language has been taken out of this bill. So I don't think that one's no longer, or I don't think this is an issue any longer. What this one's all about really is the final payments and the payment of retainage and that sort of thing with governmental agencies. And, I know back to my days representing AGC, we argued over that stuff every single year. So I think that's where those bills stand right now. The next group of bills, Laura, and just in case I look funny, I've got a big computer screen right behind my phone, so I'm looking at off that. I'm not looking at what you're looking at. So the next two are the licensing bills. They've come to a halt. They haven't moved for at least 2 weeks. So I think we're good there. Those would have allowed a PE or in a lot of different industries, a licensed person from a different state to come here, and as long as they had that license from elsewhere, they could apply and become licensed here. So it doesn't look like those are going to go at least this year. But we've been seeing licensing bills, every year, every other year here lately. So I think that trend will continue. But I think we're good there. The bills after that are the higher education bills. This one kind of surprises me because I thought these were going to roll. This is the anti-woke university bill that had everybody upset, and they too have come to a halt. Like I say, that does not mean they can't pop them up. Let's see. There's one committee left in the House and 2 in the Senate. And they already removed it from one of the committees in the House. So, they could pop that thing loose and run with it, no doubt about it, or amend it onto something. But for now, that has kind of come to a halt. So moving on, I think another one we were worried about there for a little bit, the sovereign immunity bills, especially its impact on our members who work as an agent for a political or for a government agency. That too seems to have come to a halt in the House and never even got out of the gate in the Senate, or at least so far. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. The next one, again, I had these up just because it's ratification of DEP rules. It does not include the stormwater rule that everybody is interested in. And we sent over proposed changes, and they have changed the proposed rule. I think they have another few days, maybe like Wednesday this next week ends that 21-day period after they changed it. So we're watching that closely. We don't want to see a 7th week surprise. And just, I should have said this at the beginning, but we just finished week 5, week 4, I guess. We got 9 to go. So, or 9 total. So anyway, there's time if they wanted to, try to get something ratified, but they have absolutely no support at this point. When they changed it, the environmental groups went against it. We're not against doing something. We were just against what they're doing now, or the way this rule is. And so, we're trying to work with them, but the business community's not with them. The environmental community's not with them. So that'd be a tough road to hoe to get that ratified. But we'll see. There's, I've been talking with some, the developers and others on that side, and they're debating whether somebody's going to challenge it or not. And if somebody does challenge it, it's done for now. It's not going to be ratified. But there's reasons to do that and reasons not to. Obviously, again, if they did, it would put an end to it for this year. But then also, it's one of those deals. When you challenge it, it's going to go to a judge who's going to give you a ruling, and it might be a ruling you don't want. So they're trying to figure that out. I know we had talked about this early on, and nobody's asked to change our position. We had said we would not be the ones to challenge it going forward. That we were going to try to work with DEP and get to something that some people can agree on. You'll never get everybody on that one. And then another set of bills that it looks like they're dead. Those were the original DOT bills. They took out the phase design bill. They took out some other things, and they were supposed to do that in the budget along with the money, which takes us back up there to that second bill. So these haven't moved for a while either. That's kind of it. Moving forward, I think we're on our big issues. I think on the DEP rule will be okay. I think we're coming in for a landing on the condo inspections. I'm worried about the CCNA. I just don't know. There's some big players involved in that. We had a meeting earlier this week or midweek, Wednesday, with AIA, with the landscape architects, the surveyors and mappers who are, that's the team when we've got a CCNA bill to fight. And John and some others are working on getting some meetings set up to speak with especially the finance people over in the House. And we're gonna cut loose next week. I've had this idea for a while. We're gonna cut loose next week and have our members start, contacting their personal members of the House. And let them know what's going on, that they're trying to get this through with zero debate basically in the House. So, but if I'm worried about one, it's that one, and the fire sprinkler thing. That's a small subsection of our membership, obviously, but one I don't like to take dings of any kind. So, I was given some information the other day where this one group just flat out lied. So hopefully that'll work in our favor. Any questions?
None in the chat right now, Alan.
Welcome back, Laura.
Thank you. Good morning. I just thought nobody wanted to say good morning back. I thought, wow, that's a Friday. Cool.
Hey, Alan, this is Pete. Did you still want to try to catch up with Renner?
Yeah, let's talk about that next week because we're going to be looking at all the members of the House. If we have people that know him personally, that can just say, "Hey, this isn't the way this should be done." I stop. I'm kind of cautious about saying, "Hey, look, we're ready to debate CCNA anytime, and you shouldn't be doing it this way because it's a sneaky way to end a procurement system." So I'm a little cautious about that because then we might get that debate next year. Last time this came up, it came up as a bill, and we stuffed it, and we're able to stuff it in its first committee. Basically, the vote, they won and they got it through the committee, but the vote was so tight that they knew it was just going to get harder from there, and they didn't try to move it anymore. And then a few years before that, they had tried it again this was a last minute amendment they tried to stick on a bill. And it's controversial. And, that those of you that were around remember that went to the very last minute of the last day of session. And that's the bill they were arguing over in the House and Senate, kept bouncing it back and forth. Because in that case, they had put it on basically the appropriations for the universities, where this time it's going to flow in. It's starting out that way, but it's all going to flow together here at some point. And, anybody else? All right. Well, even with all of Laura's struggles, we've got 2 minutes to go. So
Thanks for the update, Alan.
Thanks for carrying on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the help, Shaw. See
yeah,
you guys.
Not a problem. Thank you, guys. See you
Thanks,
in
everyone.
a
Bye-bye.
couple-
Yeah. Bye.
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Bye.
You guys.